This is the real wilderness, brother. In just 3 months, we went from the human age to the Iron Age. Not only did they make iron tools, they used them to build villas with sea views. The man's name is Peter, because I'm tired of the city's feasting, so I chose to live in the rainforest. Soon, he found a cave in his heart, and use it as a habitat. The stream in front of him just cut him off from the land. Avoid being attacked by predators. Peter swings down a few swings. Clean up the vines of the lovi. Then I tested the height of the cave. Feels a little low. He wanted to knock the rock above off with a stone. But Peter, who hasn't been out of the novice village yet, didn't do much damage. Helpless, I can only go out to play jungling. He collected some vines in the jungle. Prepare to weave a basket for soil. Remember the formula when knitting. 3 long and 1 short. Choose the shortest. 3 short, 1 long. Choose the longest. Uneven. Choose B for 2 lengths and 2 shorts. Invincible. Only in this way will the basket be stable and not deform. Don't waste the remaining rattan. You can also make yourself a pair of shoes. Measure the size with your feet. Cut to the appropriate length. After forming a figure 8 ring, place between the toes of your feet, and then weave it back and forth with a rattan. Peter's hands and feet are skillful. The production of the soul plate was completed soon. Try it. The size is just right. And he gathered some more bark. Peel off the inner bark. When dried in the sun, clockwise, horn single bone, counterclockwise horn, double strand. So you get a straw rope. Thread the straw rope through the sole plate. Screw on a few flowers and put them on the shoes. It's strong around the heel, and you get a nice pair of flip-flops. Take 2 steps and try it. The effect is very wow, Mom. Mom doesn't have to worry about my feet anymore. This is the real wilderness survival. Wearing only a pair of shorts into the rainforest. All equipment is obtained by jungling. Peter simply armed. The official start of the wilderness journey. So first he goes and finds a piece of coconut, then use a stone knife to cut out the appropriate length. Split another branch in the middle, stuff the cut bark in and tie it with a rope, and that's a fan. Then, according to the size of the fan, draw a circle on the ground, and he was going to collect the clay. To make a blower, clay accumulates along the outer ring. The height is slightly higher than the fan surface. Put it on and test it for the right size. And Peter looked for a rock. After tapping the groove, place at the bottom of the blower to stabilize the fan blades. And for the beams at the top, we use branches, arrange neatly and smooth with clay. Wait until everything is normal. The blower is completely sealed inside. Then start setting up the furnace at the exit. Stacked first as high as the blower. Then use some more delicate clay. Press into a handle according to the diameter of the. You're going to punch holes in it with branches. In this way, the wall of the wild refining and Peter continued to build it with clay. Wait until his complete truce is complete. This feeling of déjà vu, it gave me a strange urge. Next, Peter prepares to start a fire. Test the performance of the stove. I saw him touch a stone from the river, poked a hole with a zenbao. Then it was installed on the spindle. Tie a rope to the top. If you pull the rope, the spindle will rotate. It's very easy to drill for fire. Peter chose gravel. After a simple polishing process, fix it to the bottom of the spindle. Peter casually pulled a few times. It's easy to sour the branches. He put the spindle through the hole. Tie the rope at both ends. Pull the spindle by pressing. The same effect and more labor saving. Then he cut out the branch. The burner is pressed on the leaf. Here are the moments to witness the miracle. This is the fastest wildlife I've ever seen. Peter just taps the spindle a few times. The leaves below start to smoke. Then blow it so lightly with your mouth. You get the spark you want. Friends who want to learn and live, you can watch the previous video. Peter poured the kindling into the wild furnace. Remove the drill from the spindle. Replace the upper fan blade, so the spindle becomes the blower. Now, as long as you're fast enough, the flame will burn brighter. Just then, takeaway delivered. A big coconut floats upstream. Peter happily picked it up and tore off the outer skin. It turned out to be empty. Peter did not complain, but after simple decoration, and made him into a cup. Subsequently, he filled his cup with clay containing iron, brought back to camp, and Peter grinds the charcoal. Charcoal can reduce ore to iron, and the sky and earth are to reduce the melting point of the ore. After pouring in the soil containing iron, Peter made them into little balls, then put it on the stove to dry. While he waited, Peter started digging for the clay again, built a new stove in the clearing. He was going to make an earthen kiln to burn charcoal, because the ignition point of charcoal does not meet the. After opening a few air intakes at the bottom, Peter went to collect a lot of dry wood again, fold it into a suitable length, and place it in an orderly manner. This will burn more evenly. The charcoal produced is of better quality, finely wrapped in clay. Pour charcoal from above to ignite. Because there is an air inlet at the bottom, it burns from the top down. So Peter called for dinner for 2 hours. Finally, a raging fire. As a result, this kid doesn't play according to the city. The hole was sealed directly with clay and sealed the air inlet at the bottom. Peter said, "Only charcoal burned in Kwanmi, His Majesty. Strong and durable. The next step is to wait. If the charcoal is successfully fired, Peter can start smelting iron. Now, it's finally time for acceptance." After breaking the wrapped soil, Peter took out the charcoal inside. It can be seen that the quality is quite good. If you put it on a treasure, it will definitely sell you for 9 yuan. Then he poured the charcoal into the stove. Under the rapid rotation of the blower, the temperature of the furnace rises rapidly. Take advantage of this time. Peter went to the river to retrieve a coconut. After a simple treatment, it becomes a beautiful and practical container. Mead incense is not awesome. It's a mud that contains iron ore. He crushed the charcoal, fused with this iron ore mud. Rub it into a few cute little balls with your hands. Simple baking by the stove. Then a new layer of charcoal is added. Let the temperature in the furnace rise rapidly. Then put the iron balls in, and then capped with charcoal. Finally, Peter started to turn the blower. As hand speed continues to increase, the temperature inside the furnace is also climbing. It's already 1200 degrees centigrade, but in order to maintain the temperature in the brain, Peter needs new wood blankets are added every few minutes, and the blowers don't stop either. And that separation took about 3 hours. Finally, Li Ti took out the iron ball with hammer out the outer residue. After cooling, then water. You can see that there are many iron particles in it. After processing all the iron balls, Peter received a total of 0.1 kilograms of iron. But that's not enough. He has to collect more mud containing iron ore. Then keep repeating the above operation. After a week of hard work, Peter finally got 2 caddies of iron. The next step was to cast iron tools. But Peter needed a clay cup, used to hold melted molten iron. After the crushed charcoal is evenly mixed with clay, slowly pinch out the shape of the cup with your hands. Continuously stack coils on it to increase the height. Patiently apply to the same thickness. After the cup is formed, it is first baked on the edge. Wait until it's almost dry before putting it in the stove. Then cover it with a layer of charcoal. Then start turning the blower, and you add charcoal in furnace temperatures up to 1300 degrees. The cup has been on fire for 4 hours. After the furnace cools down, the ceramic cup is roughly complete. Then enter the formal rehearsal session. First, add charcoal to the stove. Raise the furnace temperature to 1200. Then pour about 0.4 kilogram of iron ball into. Then add a lot of charcoal to it. Turn the blower to keep the temperature in the furnace rising. The iron ball also slowly melted. Before they completely melt into liquid, Peter took out another piece of clay. After trimming into a neat plane, start carving the shape of a knife on it. It took another 5 hours to finish the mold. At this point, the temperature inside the skull has reached. The iron ball also melted into molten iron. Peter uses a stick as a clip. Take out the head cup containing the molten iron. Carefully pour into the mold groove. This seems simple. It's hard to do. Peter has to be quick. Ruthlessly fill the entire mold with molten iron. Otherwise, once the molten iron cools, the previous work will be in vain. Soon, the molten iron cools and becomes a solid, formed the shape of a knife. At this time, I was caught off guard and poured down a causes the saw to rapidly cool and harden. Peter takes out the knife. The prototype has been completed, but the tip of the knife is not sharp enough at this time. He comes to the west. Repeated grinding on the stone finally turned into a decent knife. Peter couldn't wait to give it a try. Cut down the branch with a knife. The knife is inserted at a steady temperature, and he cut off a branch and split it in the middle. Insert the handle into the well. Wrap it up with hemp rope. So a very primitive iron knife is ready. Now, Peter has officially declared the Iron Age. The man aspires to be the bearer of the wilderness world. Survive in the rainforest for 5 years without any tools. Now, after half a month of hard work, he has entered the Iron Age, successfully created a pocket knife. But it's not enough to fix the cave. Peter also needs a hammer and chisel, so we have to continue making iron. Still the same recipe, same steps. Mix ferrous clay with charcoal, put it in the stove and bake at high temperature. Smelt out small iron balls and put them in the furnace to melt. While the furnace is hot, Peter made molds out of clay. At this point, the temperature inside the brain soared to 1000. Take the molten iron out and pour it into the mold. Wait for it to cool down. Then put the chisel on the stone and polish it repeatedly. Then place the hammer horizontally between the split sticks. Wrap it around with a rope. So a hammer and chisel are ready. Peter first checks the results. The hammer and chisel work very well together. No matter how hard the rock is, it's not a problem. Busy for so long, Peter was starving. Now is the time to eat some food to replenish your energy. Desire to do good must first sharpen the weapon for more efficient fishing. So he had to make some cages. The material is vines everywhere. Arrange them first in the shape of a heart. Add another vine. Repeated winding and crossing. Keep joining. New vine. Less than a few minutes. A beautiful and practical ground cage is ready. Peter did 5 in one go. Snails caught basking in the sun from the edge of the creek. Brutally smash the snail and covered with clay. Mix evenly and divide into several small pieces. Put it in the cage as bait. In the clear stream, there are many small fish taking a leisurely walk inside. Peter puts the trap in the water. Fix the position with a large rock, and then you wait for your prey to take the bait. 3 hours later, Peter removes the trap. He was a bit disappointed, because out of the 5 cages, only 2 are harvested. He pours out the little fish. Although the weight is not large, but barely enough to eat, 3 logs on toes, then firmly insert into the ground, and put a slate on top of it. Here's Peter's new fire. This was the first pan. Put the fish on top. The most delicious food. It often requires only the simplest cooking. Small fish after simple baking. Peter ate it with relish. Now, that's full of protein. After eating and drinking, it's time to work. First, use the basket to turn over the soil. Spread out beneath the rock. Bring a bunch of firewood and put it up in different places. Ignite the flame from within the firewood. Start baking rocks at high temperature. Using the principle of thermal expansion and contraction, let the inside of the rock crack itself first. It'll make things a lot easier afterwards. Peter tells us this firsthand. Learn mathematics and physics well. Travel the world without fear. After a period of time, the rock has fallen. A lot of small fragments, and the rocks become more crisp. First, insert the chisel into the rock crevice, and then I hit it with the hammer to make it bigger and bigger. Finally, break off the rock fragments by hand. Cycle. This operation is passed for a full 6 days. The rock is basically clear. Sand fragments. Deal with it. Wet the pick soil with water and turn it into clay. Spread the clay evenly on the ground. Then use the collected tablets. Stones cover the clay. Keep hitting the edge of each stone with a hammer. Fix it. Such a natural stone floor. You're done. Don't look at this floor. It's still a little rough, but waterproof and moisture-proof is first class. The foundation is laid. Next, Peter is going to start building. Can you believe it? A foreigner uses a traditional Chinese mortise and tenon structure. They built an exquisite well villa in the rainforest. The raw material for building villas is wood. Therefore, you must first prepare the tools to cut down the tree. Peter drew the rough shape of the axe on the clay. The next steps. I'm sure everyone is already familiar with it. Directly double the speed. Skip. This axe looks simple. It works without ambiguity at all. Peter took a fancy to this diameter at a glance. 10 centimeters trunk. First, a knife in the middle, then build up the strength and take another knife. After a dozen knives, the trunk will soon lose its hold. Peter supported the tree trunk up the room and fell in the opposite direction. The whole trunk was removed. Repeat the same action several times. Peter got a total of 4 trunks. After that, be patient. Cut a round trunk into squares on all sides, and then you run your hand over the wood. Split at a position of about 1.5 meters. Cut it into 2 equal stumps. How about this job? It's not easy. It took 10 hours. More sparks than his axe, but that's not enough. Bigger challenges lie ahead. Peter uses a chisel and a hammer. A groove is cut at both ends of the stake. Treated wood 2 horizontally, 2 vertical. Put 1 2 meters long, a rectangle 1.5 meters wide. End and tail grooves and convex. It's like a match made in heaven. Perfect fit together. Peter was overjoyed. I thought my eyes were late, and he started to punch holes in the wood. Watching your work go smoothly. Peter has endless strength. After the small hole is opened, Peter started making Shodan again non-stop. It should be noted that Zhao Ding must be larger than Kong. Otherwise, the wood is at risk of falling off. Peter is ingenious. Iterative comparison precisely controls the size of Zhao Ding. Insert a small hole to hold the two pieces of wood firmly in place. This is the legendary bamboo chute structure. With it, you don't even need a nail. The house can be very strong. Repeat for the remaining 3 corners. And Peter framed this rectangular structure that he had constructed, moved into his own open-air villa, erected on the ground, fixed the basic shape of the house. Although it has become a little longer, but it's not a problem. Peter cleaved quickly with an axe, and he started to make new lumber. It needs about a 50 centimeters wooden window. Cut them down one by one. Build 4 rectangles from the 4 sides. Dig small holes in it. Then insert the corresponding size. Knock small wooden stake, after determining the length. And Peter started drilling holes in it. Then put a small stake. Foot stakes are fixed. It's not just a physical test. It also tests one's carefulness, including a precise grasp of the size of the. After the first floor is built, Peter starts building the second floor again. For each level to be stable, the stakes on each floor have to be staggered. I don't sleep or eat. Finally built a decent wall, and to the left of this villa is a rock magazine. This is Peter's custom stove. You know, surviving in the wild, no fire is impossible, so this location is also very important. Build a fire in the stove. Peter starts building the wall again. The 3-sided head will be built soon. Leave a hole about 60 centimeters in length in the middle. What about this location? Specifically designed to install gates. Peter goes out. Bring back a piece of wood that has been treated. This wood fits perfectly on both sides. Still using a solid bamboo chute structure. Make small holes. Insert the nails. Peter started working with wood again, ready to make the final door panel. Back to the cottage. Cut small holes in the bottom layer of the stake. Install the door panel. Peter, just give it a try. Wooden doors are simple, but strong and flexible. There is definitely no problem with daily use. Due to the rainy weather in the local area, Peter needs to build a roof. Then I found a few upright stones. First, put a total of 9 pieces of wood on the roof. Repair it all into a rectangle with a knife. At this time, the blower that has not been seen, drill a small hole in the slate. Pass the rope through the hole, then punch holes in the second slab. Wait until all the slabs are processed, and string them to the sticks on the roof. Connect. This eaves can be used as shelter from rain and moisture. It's really a sparrow. Although it's small and has all, you are able to complete the construction of the love house of your dream. Here's how to improve your quality of life. Facing the big tree is a burst of crazy output. I took out a little cutie from it. Although it looks disgusting, it's full of protein. Peter found a few more trees. Repeat the same operation. Soon, it was filled with little cuties. Bring them back to the villa. Put a slate on the poster. Arrange the cuties neatly. It's ready to eat after a few minutes of baking. Peter took one and put it in his mouth. Although crunchy, but no chicken flavor. Fortunately, it is rich in protein, and Peter ate it with great relish. Peter, who was full of food and drink, slept soundly. It was already afternoon when I woke up. Peter's brain is still a little jumpy. Dive into the water for a wilderness bath. The cold water instantly woke Peter up. After playing in the water for a while, he decided to build a bridge over his cottage. Find a few old and sturdy trees. Repair the skin with an axe. Next is still our country's traditional mortise and tenon process. I believe you are already very familiar with it. I have to say that the ancient people were really wise. Chisel and axe working together. Cut a small hole in the trunk. Then make a dicking and fix it on the small hole. Put 4 logs vertically below. Try to keep them as close apart as possible. Then insert a piece of wood horizontally. By banging, the wood is firmly fixed to it. Peter breathed a sigh of relief. Made 2 identical brackets. If the average person is probably too tired, this physical exertion is not ordinary. Peter was able to do it easily. He dragged the 2 brackets to the water's edge. Throw them into the water. With the blessing of water buoyancy, much easier than on land. Lean the pier against the rock. You use a cane to pull it up and levitate it in the air, and then you prop up the other bracket with a piece of wood, tied to the shore with rattan, so the 2 piers are fixed. Then he continued to rub the wood. Tie 5 tree trunks with currency. Made a 3x2 bridge body. The overall width should match the pier. This can be crossed with each other. After installing the bridge body in place, Peter let go of the rattan tied to the pier. The 2 were instantly firmly stuck together. Finally, patiently adjust the angle of the bridge. It keeps the bridge parallel to the water. Peter tried it. The bridge is very strong. It can fully support the weight of him alone. But the extra wood on the bridge deck both affect the appearance. It's easy to trip over people. Peter took the axe and clicked it. Soon, all the excess wood will be cut off. Then he drilled holes in the bridge deck, knocked in the short wood with the nails. Peter installed a total of 4 grass trees. to increase the stability of the bridge. Then he went to cut down 2 more trees. Peter obviously wasn't happy with his work. Are you saying he's a Virgo? This is the true wild survival expert. He's not just smelting iron with charcoal in the wild, making bricks out of wood. He also built a dream house with his own hands. In order to facilitate their own travel, he built another bridge across the river. The overall framework is now complete. In order to make the wooden bridge more stable as a whole, he added 2 more logs on it. It is also fixed with the bamboo shoot structure. He then cuts the end of the log in half and put a hole in it and insert a nail into it. Then Peter makes complementary accessories to stabilize the bridge at an angle to the beam. Then Peter took out many more twigs, all processed into 60 centimeters short wood. Peel and cut holes and spread them neatly on the bridge deck. Peter himself has no idea how many holes he has punched, how many nails are inserted. Hands grind bald skin. Just finished. Finally, the stairs must also be arranged in place. It's just cumbersome compared to the bridge body. He only needs 2 logs and he's done. Peter walks on the bridge and feels it carefully. I always feel a little uncomfortable, so he started drilling holes in the bridge again. Trim the sides of the short wood to stop into the newly dug hole in the crossbar. After a while, 6 short logs were erected on the bridge. Then Peter brought out 2 more long logs. After punching the small hole in the corresponding position, it was installed on the protruding glue nail. In this way, the guardrail of the bridge will also be available. At this moment, after a few days of work, Peter thought of doing it. After all, he is now a successful person with a house, so the sense of ritual must be filled. He crushed the charcoal and mixed it with clay. Mix well by constant rubbing. Then pinch out the shape of a rice basin with your hands. Irregular places are smoothed out with water, and they bake them on the stove. And then you burn it up. After reaching a certain furnace temperature, put the basin in, and then finally capped with charcoal. Keep turning the blower. Add wooden stalls every few minutes. So after 5 hours of high temperature baking, Naughty has been hard and true. Just listen to the sound and know it's a good basin. After washing in water, his appearance is quite high. At this time, the trap Peter had already set. I have also gained a lot. Although the small fish is not big, but more is more. Put the small fish in the basin and arrange them neatly. Add some more life sources to it and brought it back to the cottage. Ignite the stove and bake. Fish oil sizzles in the heat. No seasoning required. The fragrance of fish can make people drool. It's just that Peter likes spicy food. I went to the back mountain to pick some wild millet peppers. Put it on the slate and cut it carefully. It's more tasty. Sprinkle in the small fish before they come out of the pot. Peter came to the bridge with the small fish. Indulge in delicious food while admiring the country he has built. Satisfied. There is no mortgage here, no car loan. No one will bother you to see the beautiful woman. Eat when you're hungry. Sleep when you are tired. Isn't this life more fragrant than work? A few days ago, the newly built lake house was flooded. He can only find a new wilderness. Come to the stream. He has a crush on a big tree. Lush foliage can hide privacy well. Peter decided to make his home here. Take a bite of ergotu first to cheer yourself up. Then he took out his mountain axe and gave a crazy output. These extra roots are useless. It takes up space. Wait for it to clean up. The trees look much fresher. Then Peter brought some stones of various sizes. Throw the big one outside. Small shop inside, but it's bumpy. It forms a foundation that's insulated and moisture-proof. Can't lie down at all. So Peter took a clearing and made some clay. Knead it into balls and bring it back. Then spread it out and smooth it with the skilled technique. After Peter washed the mud from his hands, I started rolling wood again, with the help of modern tools. The tree was soon brought down, and he started carving away at the bottom. It should be noted that the thickness of each piece should be otherwise, the paved ground will be easily uneven. Finally, trim the cut planks. An original ecological floor tile is ready. Before the clay is completely dry, Peter put these floors on it. Beat it carefully with a hammer, and the edges and the corners. If it is not suitable, please trim it on site. Take off your shoes and step on it barefoot. Peter feels fine. Recover some strength with a simple rest. Peter is back in the woods again. Cut down a few tree trunks and take them back to camp with chisels and saw blades to make grooves in the trunk. Some are at the top, some are in the middle. I'm sure Peter has a point in what he's doing. Soon the mystery was revealed. Small tree trunks and large tree trunks go together. Take out this tool that, I don't know what it's called. Drill a hole in it. No see for a few days. Peter's equipment is much better. You can do a lot of work with a little bit of effort. Then it is to repair the nail of the corresponding size. Then punch the nail into the small hole. Is that so? The two pieces of wood are firmly fixed together. The foundation home with one wall left is ready. Then Peter dug a hole nearby. Bury the hot wood in. Beat up the soil with a stake. Dig another groove in the middle of the wood. It also fixes the measurements with structure. While Peter was working hard, the sky suddenly began to rain. After waiting for a while, I found that the rain didn't seem to. Looks like we need to speed things up. After the beam is built, insert two short woods in the middle section, and the long trees are the beams for the roof. Use a saw to remove the extra parts on both sides. 3 big trees. Just set up a stable triangular structure. It's no problem to withstand the wind and rain. It's just that there's still a roof missing. So this is the perfect material. Remove the leaves next to it. Cut the branches and repair them and take them back to the camp. The leaves were tied in bundles to the beams. Cut out the excess. The roof is almost finished. Branches are also very useful. Line them up vertically, simply wrapped around the grass. This is the wall of the house. The most important thing in the house is the fireplace, or old friends, clay in the shape of a fireplace. Although it looks a little rough, but absolutely practical. Then we cut some dry sawdust from the wood. Put it in a fireplace that's not completely dry yet. Raised fire with ignition, so the fireplace dries as quickly as possible. Take advantage of this time. Peter punched holes in the short wood, and get a shorter log. We're going to build a little cylinder on top of it. Make these long. The wood of the short commoner forms a rectangle. That's when I realized, what are these small holes for? I saw Peter put the branch through the small hole. The machete quickly trimmed off the excess branches. Same steps for the second one. Then use branches to string the 2 brackets. A cage is ready. Then install a small door that rotates at the top. I'm afraid fans won't understand. Peter also showed us. It turns out that this door can only enter prey. Once you take the bait, there is no turning back. Catch all the snails sunbathing, smashed with stones. Patiently pick out the meat inside. Mix them evenly with the soil. Make bait and put it in a trap cage. After that, it is to wait quietly for the food to take the bait. Soon, a large crab appeared in front of the camera. Peter takes out the crab. It's bigger than the palm of his hand, and Peter was drooling. Knock out the crab. Put it in the fireplace and enjoy the baptism of fire. Peter, who was in a hurry to eat crabs, fired directly manually. Crab branches and leaves begin to slowly emerge, sizzling under the baking fire. An hour later, the crab is almost ripe. Peter dismembered several of his pliers one by one. Smash with a knife. Expose the fat crab meat inside. Eating in the wild also requires a sense of ceremony. Use the leftover floor tiles as plates. Cut up the crab meat and put it in the hollowed out crab claws. Add a little wild tomatoes from the fans. Chop with a knife and mix well on the crab meat. Put it in the fireplace and bake again. Peter went to the mountain again and dug up some wild taro. Dig out of the middle of the wood a groove and fix the smooth with a knife. You can see that this process is very laborious. When it's over, Peter was sweating profusely, but nothing can stop him from wanting to do it. Fresh taro from his pocket. After peeling, wash it in a wooden basin. Start polishing with stones. Let the starch of the taro dissolve into the water. Wait for starch to soak to precipitate. Pour out excess water. Put it on a stone to dry and collect it. Add water and knead into a small dough. Slash in the middle of the dough. Bake on the fireplace for another 2 hours. The bread with the outer burnt and the inner tender is ready. Peter puts the crab meat into the bread. Add some wild tomatoes. Eat big mouthfuls. Listen to the sounds of nature. Enjoying a rare meal. It's an amazing feeling. Do you yearn for such a life?